Spreadsheets, clunky software, 100 different logins just to run your business? Ah.
There's a better way. Odoo. One simple, connected platform that handles sales, inventory, accounting, and more. So you can focus on growing, not juggling. Make the switch today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Thank you for tuning in. It's time for another amazing guest show on Eternal Affairs Truth Radio. Please consider supporting our work at our website, eternalaffairsmedia.com. Sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Please subscribe and keep coming back. You're going to know God did it.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. This is Zach with EA Truth Radio, brought to you by InternalAffairsMedia.com, online for 16 years, faithfully publishing the truth, powered by the truth since 2010. Our guest today is Nathan D. Myers. I'm giving your whole government name right there.
That's right.
And I'd like to, we're going to chat with him. We're going to have a good time, but let me open up with a little prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for another fantastic day. Jesus, we praise you for blessing us. I'm here in Florida, and we blessed us with rain today. I guess we needed it for the green grass. And thank you for another, breath of fresh air and another person I can chat with about you. In your precious name, amen.
Amen.
All right. So, Nathan, where are you coming from?
Zach, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. I am broadcasting at the moment from Middle Tennessee, about an hour south of Nashville. Okay. We've been here about 4 years, and prior to that, we were in Texas for 22 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and had an opportunity to move to Tennessee, or at least buy a property up here 4 years ago. And we took the leap so I could be close to my immediate family. I have 3 brothers, and my parents are still here in the area. They're retired from ministry, full-time church planting for 40 years.
Beautiful.
And they're actually here in the area. And so we moved up here to be with the cousins, man.
Where did you? So I want to go back to your Dallas Fort Worth area. Do you remember the town you lived in?
Yeah, we lived most of those years in Fort Worth proper, and have a long-standing relationship with Fort Worth and many people that have come and gone from there over the years. And
did you hang out at the stockyards and Billy Bob's and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Billy Bob's. I didn't really frequent the honky tonks, but I was, I really do love Fort Worth. I mean, my wife is a Texan, and I've got converted pretty gradually across 20 years into a lot of Texas culture, even horseback riding. And, my mother-in-law made sure that I had a good pair of cowboy boots, by the time we got married. And, but yeah, Texas was awesome, man. And I love Texas. I really do.
I used to live in a town called Flower Mound.
Great. Yeah.
And, my daughter, was born in Louisville Hospital.
Okay.
And she now lives in a little town south of Fort Worth called Keene. And she works for Southwest Advent University. That's where she graduated from. And she works there. And then I have a best friend who's in the colony. He's a chiropractor in the colony. And so I loved it there. Unfortunately, we got transferred out to Florida. Mm-hmm. And my ex and the kids moved back to Texas a couple of years ago. And I stayed here with my wife and kids, and I've been here now almost 30 years, and it's really tough to leave the Sunshine State. I mean, everybody, you have alligators and hurricanes, and I'm like, it's, you know what though? I have 365 days I wear shorts.
Right. That's great, man. Yeah, we lived in Florida for about now a total of about a year, because we lived in Destin and Panama City, but during the pandemic. And then I worked on a movie in Sarasota that was a 4-month project. And so we were actually based there for 4 months. And so we spent a fair amount of time in Florida. Love it down there too. And my wife would be in Florida in 2 seconds if I had, more consistent work and things down there. So
Yeah, my wife has made it perfectly clear. She's from Iowa and I'm from Jersey originally. And we both have agreed that we will never live where it snows. Although we have looked at Tennessee, North Carolina. So her best friend lives in Franklin. Are you close to Franklin?
yeah, I'm a hop and a skip up into Franklin. We're up there all the time. It takes us about 40 minutes to get into Franklin from where we are because we're down in the boonies. But
okay, yeah, she goes there to visit, and her best friend's husband used to run. It's a big recording studio out there, Oceanside.
Okay, yeah,
and they go hang out at Leper's Fork and all that, and they get to see all the celebrities. But so, tell us, you moved from Texas to Nashville. You've been an actor yourself. Are you now more? Are you still acting? Are you behind the camera? What is your passion?
My passion initially was music. Actually, when I first got into the industry, I was actually touring with my brothers. Nashville was always on the radar. We toured for several years. I met my wife doing musical theater in a children's theater in Fort Worth, and I was directing music for that children's theater. But I was also auditioning, and I would be a part of those shows as well from time to time. Was part of the local theater scene, and then I was touring music with the guys. And but in 2005, after I had recorded a couple of albums of music with my brothers, and I'd spent several years in children's theater, either directing music or acting on stage, I booked a movie as a lead actor in an independent film that was shot in Tennessee. And I kind of got bitten by the film bug, as they say, where I got on set for the first time and I thought, ooh, this is different. And something about the film space intrigued me and caught my imagination and my attention. And so I wasn't sure what I was going to do at that point. I mean, I started auditioning, looking for talent agents, because as somebody who enjoyed acting, I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. So I have continued to act and have a talent agent for my whole career. I've always had a talent agent. I've always auditioned. I've always considered that the primary thing. However, I have, because of the nature of that industry, especially when being in Texas at the time, I needed to broaden my horizons. I was also very intrigued by filmmaking in general. And so I was the technical side of it, the story side. And so I started hitching my talent wagon to several other projects in any capacity that I could get on. So if I could get on as a PA, I would. If I could get on as I've often done over the years, an art department job, I ended up in a lot of art department gigs, and then I ended up producing several times. I've produced 3 features with friends, and I've produced somewhere between 25 and 30 commercial pieces with a good buddy that I have a partnership with, and just got very interested in production in general. In 2008 to 2010, I did the design work and the install work for Capernaum Studios and Gardens, which is where they shot The Chosen seasons 1 through 3 and parts of 4. And that was I said I got started in children's theater and things, but I was that guy in high school as an artist who was doing live theater. And then I would stick around after rehearsal and I would paint the set with the scenic painters. And so I got real interested in all things art, all things, just all of it was fascinating to me. And so but I ended up in the children's theater music direction job position in 2000 because I took my scenic painting portfolio to the theater. And the director was like, hey, you've got a really awesome scenic painting portfolio, but we don't really need a scenic painter right now. And I had an album of music in that portfolio. Those are the old days, right? When you had a physical portfolio.
Right.
And she pulled an album of music out of my portfolio. And she said, but we do need a music director. And so I've always had a broad interest in the arts. I do not consider that ADD. I consider that. I often tell people, they're like, "Oh, you're a jack of all trades, master of none." I said, "No, no, no." I said, "I'm a jack of all trades, master of some." And so I believe in the polymath. I believe that if you want to get really good at a lot of stuff, just apply yourself and study, find mentorship, find job opportunities, seek it out. And so I've done a lot of that over the years. And so when you look at my portfolio today, I have about as many acting credits as I have production credits, as I have production design credits. And the feature that I'm here to talk to you guys about today, that I hope we'll chat a little bit about, I actually directed that feature. And we have, and so I have a pretty broad production background. And in the film industry, I've got a really excellent reputation as somebody who is considered a Swiss Army knife. And, if when producers are putting teams of people together, they're like Fury gathering up the Avengers, and they're looking for people who have superpower, who are excellent in their craft. They know their stuff. And I'm that guy that often when I get the call, I'm not sure why they're calling me. And,
they could use you for anything.
Right. And I have a lot of talents. I believe in the 10 talents parable that, to him who's given a lot, much is required and expected. And so I've been trying to steward all those interests and all of those talents and invest time in them over the years as best I can. And God's been really gracious to just open up a significant amount of unusual doors. I mean, just like people ask me all the time, like, how did you get this gig? And how did you work on this movie with these people? And when did this happen? And because one thing will seem very disparate to another. And, they're looking at one big movie project next to a design project next to an acting gig. And they're going, how did you do all of that? And I say, well, I presented myself to the Lord and said, what do you want me to do? Here I am, send me.
Yes.
And he kind of wound me up and made me this way. And so as a byproduct of having a lot of gifts, I think, and a willingness to serve, he's opened up a lot of really cool doors for me that I don't think he would have opened for me otherwise necessarily. I think it's the differentiator.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny you say that because people know a jack of all trades, master of none. But when I was in Texas, I worked in security. I toured with rock bands, but I had such a passion for music. And so when we got transferred out to Florida, I actually looked to go to school at Full Sail to become an audio engineer.
Cool.
And then my parents were like, sure, but would you like the money to buy a house or would you like to go to school? And I said, we're going to buy a house. Okay. So then I went to broadcasting school and, I got into radio. And so it's really funny how the road leads you. You remind me of a friend of ours. Have you heard of Rick Schwartzwalder?
I'm not even sure I can pronounce that. So
he did the movie Old Fashioned.
Okay, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he wrote it, he directed it, and he starred in it. So he was kind of like, and it was funny. It was like the David versus Goliath because it came out the same weekend. That movie. Oh, I can't remember that. All the women read the book of. It was that. Anyway,
like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, it was 50 Shades of Grey actually. So they called it the David and Goliath, and obviously.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that in the news.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that we, and my wife became really good friends with him, and she's had him talk at the school, and the kids ask, and this is what I'm leading up to is, well, you did all that acting, directing, editing, writing. What was your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing is acting in general, as long as I'm working on a project with somebody with half a brain who has written something that's good, and when you're working with other actors that are also gifted and capable, that's my favorite thing to do. In truth, is I will tell you though, I got into the production side because there was so much garbage being made. And so much of, I don't know if you know the stats on this, but even just a few years ago, and it's changed a little bit since a number of the strikes and a lot of the upheaval in the movie industry. But horror was and still remains one of the largest U.S. exports. And there are certain types of genres and things like that I'm just not interested in. I don't want to be a party to it. I don't want to. If other people want to make it, I'm like, yeah, more power to you. Go for it. I have some qualms, and I have an assignment that does not include that. And my assignment does not include things that are going to promote darkness for darkness sake and things like that. So one of the reasons I ended up in production is I was looking around at especially the movie industry. It's a little safer on the side of the live theater scene. If you want to get involved in live theater, there's still a lot of good classical theater being produced in various places, but even still, a lot of Broadway stuff has become kind of garbage, and there wasn't a lot going on out there, and I'm not the kind of guy that'll sit around and play the victim and gripe about it for the sake of griping. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna be like, nah, I'll do something about it for myself. If I have to write it, produce it, star in it, I'll figure that out if I'm feeling called to. So we've definitely done a little bit of that, Zach. And in fact, the feature that we're promoting at the moment, my wife and I initially intended to not cast ourselves. We went hunting for actors to play a married couple that, and then we auditioned a few people, and at one point, just looking at the practical side of who we wanted to work with, we decided we need to just do that ourselves. It's going to be more practical. And so we've been on the mission of kind of creating work for ourselves too. So
yeah, I mean, I thoroughly agree with you on that. My friend Joe Mano was an actor years ago, and he actually wrote and starred in 21 Jump Street, and and did that, and he got a leading role in a big horror movie. Well, being a Christian, he said no, and it didn't. I don't know that it blackballed him from the industry, but it got him to say, this isn't what I want to do anymore. And so he wrote, directed, and starred in his own children's series, which is what I want to lead up to yours. And he did the same thing. And he actually got an Emmy for it or something, but and then he started doing that. And then obviously he went into ministry and became a pastor. But that being said, same thing. He said he felt he would not break his, I don't want to say his promise to God, but he said, I'm not going to make myself money just because there's money to be made and it's not what I believe in. Right. So I have kudos to you for doing that. And you have a brand new series, or is it's a full feature movie?
It is a full feature. We kicked around the series idea when we decided to make this, but we decided that it was a feature, and it's great. It's a nice 90-minute feature in the style of your quirky Disney musical, and so it has a Christ-centered message, and it has a lot of stimulate your thinking kind of lyrics in the songs that obviously are intended for kids that are middle grade. So it's really directed at kids that are like 10 to 14. Okay. But I've shown the movie at film festivals to broad audiences, moms, dads, kids. I've shown it to college students, and I get great response across the board. In fact, I showed it to a group of kids from Liberty University that they were working on a movie that I was working on.
Sure.
And they wanted to see this movie. And so they were like, can you screen it for us? And I was like, sure. And so we had a party one night, watched it, and they were one of the most outspoken, effusive groups of people I've shown it to. If you remember movies like, I like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a fun movie, but it's directed to kids that are middle grade. But as a dad, I can appreciate it, and I think it's funny. There's a lot of product out there like that they're well made, they're funny, they're well written, they're well produced. And the intended audience is one thing, but they end up having a broad appeal, and ours definitely has that. So,
well, yeah, I was just thinking that in my head. I hate the fact all my kids have grown up and moved out, And so I don't get to go see the fun, kid movies. I used to enjoy them. I had a blast going to see Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or It's Raining Meatballs, or whatever, whatever. But now I've got a grand. She's going to be 5 soon. So I'm going to be like, okay, Papa's taking you to the movies. Tell us. So it's music. Is it a musical?
It's a very musical movie. Let's put it that way. It's not. It does have a couple of sequences that look like a traditional movie musical, but it also has some other sequences that swing out of that. They break that mold considerably. We weren't trying to write like a Rodgers and Hammerstein style musical movie.
Right.
We weren't doing that. We wrote a movie. The screenplay came first, and my wife actually wrote the original first draft of the screenplay, handed it to me, and said, "I'm done." And so I took off with a buddy of mine, Jason Davidson, who's one of our writers. He's actually in the movie as well, and he's a very funny guy, really solid actor, and he's also a fantastic writer. He just recently won some serious awards out at the Tucson Film Festival, and he's a reader for the Austin Film Festival, and we rewrote it together. And while we were rewriting it, I said, how would you feel if I start inserting musical sequences into this? Because there were certain scenes that were written that I said, this would be so much more interesting if this were a musical sequence, or it were some imagined soiree. And so this character daydreams a lot. And so when she daydreams, we slip off into her imagination, and some of those sequences do look like a movie musical, but some of them are not. One of them looks like an old 40s black and white movie. One of them is completely animated. And so they're just different, and it's just a very kind of risky style in terms of just doing what we wanted to do. We're not really taking our cue from anyone. We just thought we did what was fun to us. We did what we thought kids would like. And I think we hit it. So
did you yourself write the music?
I did. I wrote all the lyrics for the original songs and the melodies. And then I took those to a buddy of mine named Joseph M. Burton. He's a producer out of Fort Worth. And he and I produced out all of the original songs that are connected to the movie, aside from some tracks that my brothers and I had written together that are part of our old archives. And they were unreleased masters that we own. And so a couple of those unreleased masters are attached to the movie, all the originals. And then a guy named Nathan Whitehead was our score composer. He's a Hans Zimmer mentee in LA. And so it was kind of a group effort. We had the composition, and we had Joe and I writing the original music. Joe also wrote some additional interstitial score. So it was a group effort.
So it's, I'm going to say it wrong, I think. Aria?
Yeah.
Aria Appleton. When she's in her daydream, is she singing the music, or is it just music playing?
She's often singing those songs.
Okay.
She doesn't sing all of them. There are a couple of pieces that she doesn't sing, but most of it she does. And she's got just a powerhouse set of pipes for an 11-year-old kid. And she's sarcastic and snarky and funny. And she's
you gotta love that.
Yeah, she was an incredible kid. Her name's Sarah Grace Prejean. She was a voice student of my wife's when we were in Fort Worth, and we had auditioned a bunch of kids for this movie and just couldn't really find what we were looking for. And Sarah had never done a voice lesson with my wife until near the end of casting. Sarah came in for a voice lesson and sang for my wife. And my wife looked at her and said, "You want to audition for a movie?" And we brought her in for an audition, and she was obviously not just her pipes, which she had a really great voice, but she had all the naturally built-in snark and intelligence that we needed to sell the character. And so she was great.
Now, let me just go back a little bit. When you and your brothers had a band, what kind of music did you guys do?
We were, I always jokingly tell people we are a brother band, not quite a boy band. And there's a difference. And, we weren't doing a canned choreography, but we were producing in that era when the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and those guys were all popular, because we were producing between 98 and 2008. That was when we were actually really active. And but the music itself was very AAA. I say it's very mainstream, kind of R&B to pop rock. Okay. And so it's pretty eclectic in its way. Mm-hmm.
And now fast forward to the movie, same style, or is
no, definitely not. I mean, the movie is several different styles, and it's talk about eclectic. It's very eclectic, and the big opening number is called "Shines Like the Sun" or 15 Minutes of Fame. And it's very almost SNL big band, big opening number or closing number for a Broadway show. And then we've got a couple of other numbers that are in that space of like accessible musical theater stylings. And then we have the other half of that music is pretty eclectic. They're fairly standalone. We've got a version of Motherless Child, the old spiritual, that's kind of a little bit tongue in cheek, and so it's pretty eclectic.
Cool. When you come up with an idea, do you immediately see it as, like, some people write specifically for TV shows, some people write specifically for movies? Does your mind work, this could go either way, I'm going to do whatever it turns into, or do you sit down and go, all right, could have been a show, or did you say, this is going to be a 100% movie?
Well, the question was breaking up just a little bit, but I think I understand. What I understand you to ask.
Let me rephrase it. When you're writing, do you write specifically, you have in your head, I'm going to go ahead and do this as a movie, or I'm going to do this as a show?
Oh, I got you. Yeah. At the time, we knew it was a feature from the outset. Like, we're making a feature. Only after we got into the writing process and we started doing pre-pro, only at that point did a few people say, shouldn't you at least consider whether or not this is a series? And at the time, we had the resources barely to make a feature. We did not have the resources to do a long run of a kids series with kids who grow up. In fact, Sarah was 10 when she came on the project and had a birthday during the 90 days that production happened. And she was growing. Like, we were watching her grow before our very eyes, and we would laugh. She'd come on set and we go, oh, she looks different today than she did last week. We got to hurry. And so there are some challenges in doing a kid series and doing it in the long term. Let's say you shoot, 8 or 10 or 13 episodes of something, and you've got to plan logistically to make sure that your kids don't age out too quickly. So anyway, we knew we had the time and the money and the logistics for a feature, and we knew it was going to take us about 60 days to shoot it, and we did it in 56 days. So
awesome. Okay. This new movie, where can people catch it or find it?
The movie Aria, Appleton Shines is currently available at Prime Video for TVOD and rental. You can obviously purchase the movie there or rent it. It is going to go out more broadly out to Apple TV, iTunes, and Google Play and several other places shortly. And we're about to ink a deal with a distributor. In fact, we're in a bit of I wouldn't call it it's not really a bidding war by any stretch, but we do have several distributors interested. We're more in the process of parsing out the carve-outs, what they call carve-outs for different aspects of distribution to those distributors. And so I expect by summer, we're going to have some serious traction. And I expect that by Christmas, we're going to be available in a lot more places. So
when your wife wrote this and then you took it over, what was the inspiration for it? What was she going for?
Well, I mentioned earlier that she was teaching voice. My wife has and that we met doing children's theater. The story centers around a little girl who is trying to steal the lead in the school musical from her frenemy, who has been cast in the lead. Yeah. And so it's really about her contrivances and machinations that lead towards, trying to undo her friend so that she can get what she wants. So it's really about selfish ambition and the egomania of clawing your way to the top, which is a very relevant theme for what's going on in social media and the follow me culture of social media. And so
yes.
Not that we didn't already have a problem with that prior, but it's exacerbated by social media and the follow me culture of what's going on today. So that was a big part of it, was looking back. I know my wife she knew kids, she knew musical theater, she knew the snark of the middle grade kids. She's she has a K through 12 teaching certification along with her bachelor's in musical theater and her master's in drama. And so she has worked in the public school system a little bit and the private school system as a middle school teacher. And so she knows middle school kids. And so not only did we have the professional theater experience, but we had teaching experience. And so just a ton of material to draw from. I mean, if you think about,
sure,
you write what you know. And
right.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
And that's what she knew. And when she handed it to me, I had been in that space myself so much that it was very familiar territory for us. And so it was easy to access, easy to drop into that world and continue the writing process.
Is this going to be your more future? This is what you're going to lean on towards, or do you have other projects you're looking at that might not have to do with kids? Write for kids, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we love the idea of writing for kids. In fact, she has a fully written kids series. You're talking about a series. There's a fully written kids series, and we've got our pitch deck and our lookbooks and all the things that are put together to go ahead and start pitching for funding for that. And so we do have intentions of writing more for that middle grade and family market. But we also have a couple of projects that are not that at all. We have I love high concept, and when I take a project working for somebody else, for instance, I just did Matter of Time with Sean Astin and a production design to that has been in cinema for the last month. It was one of those indie sci-fi movies that actually picked up a cinema release, which has been kind of a challenge. But I love high concept stuff, and so what I tend to write personally is more high concept or period in its way. But I also love comedy, and comedy is in and of itself high concept, and so I'm writing some in that space too.
Okay, what inspires you?
The lunacy of people inspires me. That's probably the primary thing. I'm a people watcher and an observer of people, and an observer of the egomania of people. So that's one of the things that not only inspires me, also inspires my wife. It's a common household conversation subject, is talking about all the very colorful and interesting people of our lives. So people for sure are the primary motivators. I'm also super interested in everything from really from fantasy to historical drama or historical fantasy and things like that, where you kind of get interesting crossovers. Um, and so I think I'm inspired by the entertaining work that is not all that grounded in reality. Sometimes I love movies because movies take us away from the mundane, and
Right.
so I love adventure comedy, and I love just high concept fantasy, sci-fi stuff like that. And so I think I'm inspired by expanding the imagination, expanding horizons.
Excellent. You said something earlier to me that I found interesting. The movies you write are Christian. Let me make sure I remember it correctly. You're a Christian. They're not necessarily a Christian movie, but they are themed Christian. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I am a Christian who makes art, and I'm a Christian who writes and produces in the film space. That does not mean that everything that I work on would have the brand of being a Christian film.
Okay.
In fact, Matter of Time, which is like I just mentioned in theaters, you're probably not going to see that at a Christian film festival.
Okay.
But it has a really awesome story about loyalty and friendship, and it's a true story. You know what I mean? And that's really what I believe in. I'm inspired. Genre is one thing, but it's really more about, is the story true?
Right.
Is it true? And I mean true the way Jesus's parables are true, because Jesus's parables are little pieces of fiction, right? They're just like, it's just a story. It's a fable of a sort. Camels going through eyes of needles, and someone finding the pearl of great price. These are stories. Did they actually happen? Maybe. That's not the point. The point is it's a true story regardless. And I'm very interested in that principle, and as related to the production of art as a Christian. And so, in fact, I think, and I know this to be true, a lot of people that don't consider themselves believers often resent a lot of the stuff that is made in the faith-based market, because it's not made for them. It's really, they're FUBU movies. They're for us, by us, Christian films. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, that's a very specific marketing choice. You go, well, I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to write it so that it will appeal to the Christian audience, so that they will buy it up, and they'll also buy the praise and worship album that is being sold at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's fine. I get it. But that's not really what I'm up to. I want to write things that challenge people. I want to write things that are true. I want to write things that are stimulating, start conversations. And I also want to enjoy what I'm making. I can tell you, I've had several projects over the years that I worked on that were other people's work. Uh-huh. And in the process of making it, I was like, this is not fun. And I'm not enjoying this. So I'm very picky if I'm going to go work for other people. I want to make sure that I think the project is true, but am I going to have fun making it? Because that's an important principle for me. I don't want it to become drudgery. And I certainly don't want to write. And I know a number of people in faith-based who do. They will just tell you flat out, no, we consider what the audience wants. We write it for them, and we feed them that cotton candy that, and it reminds me, I think someone in the Bible said something about gathering around for yourselves. Teachers will tell you what your itching ears want to hear. And I'd be far more interested in writing and producing things that get under people's skin and get them talking and maybe disrupt their they're thinking a little bit more so than I would be to write things that just tickle their ears.
Well, I have to thoroughly agree with that because the most famous disruptors are savior. So,
right?
I don't think he went out every day saying, "I'm going to, give a sermon and ask for an offering and have 4 songs played and everything else." He went out and just talked
Right.
about current situations and times. So, I think that's fantastic because you can get pulled in. And as a Christian, when my wife and I watch, a movie or show, there's so many things you can pull out of it that you're like, huh, I wonder if the writer's a Christian, because there's something going on in there that sounds pretty accurate. That sounds pretty good, And so I can totally appreciate it because there are several Christian movies that if they were not labeled in the Christian genre might have done way more successfely. But like
they would have.
I don't want to go see that. I'm not going to church. What do I want to watch that for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jesus said, "I did not come to bring peace, but a sword."
Uh-huh.
And so I'm kind of in that mode. I think art, the pen is mightier than the sword. Art in that space to use as a tool for storytelling and stimulation, I think so. It's a big deal. My dad was a church planting pastor for 40 years. He planted a bunch of churches and really remarkable man. And but when he was doing aspects of pulpit ministry, he often would grab scenes from a movie and put them on screen briefly to say, "Hey, have you guys seen this movie?" He might show us. I remember one time he showed a scene from Braveheart. And anytime that a movie would come up on screen at church, youth group was like, "Oh, this is going to be good. This will be cool." And so movies are incredibly useful tools to help tell story and promote. And
my wife will argue with just about anybody about The Matrix or Lord of the Rings, or the Chronicles of Narnia, and she's like, if you look at it and really study it, Jesus, it's there, it's right in front of you, and it makes sense. And sometimes, I had a big problem, and I hate to say it this way. Growing up, I grew up in the '80s, and I was a rocker. I loved rock music, and then my mom would always try and make me listen to Christian rock music, and I was just like, it just could not compare for some reason, because at that time, the studio maybe wasn't as good as, the other studios or whatever. You could just tell the music. It just was almost, I hate to say cheesy, but it was cheesy, and like now, and it's funny because you're close to Nashville. Now, most of the Christian music is produced in Nashville. And to me, Christian music sounds country. It's all country to me. And so it just that just irritates me because I'm not a country fan. When you do your movie, or when you did the movie, did you do it in the Nashville area?
No, actually, we shot everything in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Oh, you said that already. Yes, you did. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I did. I mean, we were living down there at the time when we did production, but yeah, Texas has far better. Well, I had far better relationships. I had more than a decade of relationships there to build upon, and in fact, we, talking about the stuff we're going to produce in the future, even though we're currently in Tennessee, we are seriously considering heading back to Texas to produce down there because I have relationships with most of the big studios in that space, and a lot of crew members and people that we would want to tap into are probably in Texas. And if we unionized in any form or fashion and tried to tap into Texas film incentives, the film incentives in Texas are far greater than they are in Tennessee at the moment. And so we would, for many reasons, probably produce in Texas.
What, you don't want to go to Hollyweird? I mean, I thought that would be the spot.
Well, it's funny. I mean, it could be. It's tough to produce out there. It's expensive and lots of red tape. But there are reasons why I wouldn't. But there's I mean, a lot of people moving into the Fort Worth market because of Taylor Sheridan, but the Woody
Oh
Harrelson.
my gosh, he has just that guy has just blown up. I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah, and Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey have also been dipping their toe in the Fort Worth pool, but we already had Tammy Lane Productions, and then Dallas Jenkins moved in with The Chosen in 5 and 2, and I have a relationship with those guys as well because of Capernaum back in the day. I'm now directing film camp for Camp Hoblitzel with The Chosen in end of July. We've done that for 2 years, and going back for a third year this year, God willing. But all the faith-based guys are there, even like Chuck Konzelman, Kerry Solomon, who did Unplanned and God Is Not Dead, and they're based in Fort Worth now. And so Fort Worth has already been a big faith-based hub, but now that Taylor is there and you've got McConaughey coming in, it's a mini Hollywood unto itself in its own way. And what's going to happen there is not going to be unlike Atlanta. It's going to be quite a bit like what went down in Atlanta.
The Kendrick brothers, they're in Atlanta, right?
They're outside. Well, they're probably like office based in Atlanta. I know the Sherwood Baptist is in Albany.
Albany, yes, yeah.
Outside Atlanta, but yes.
Right. And do you think Nashville will catch the movie bug, or will they stay Music City?
I don't know. I think they've talked about it. I think Nashville's sleepy from the standpoint of people want to live here. They don't want to work here. And so their Kingdom Studios has planted itself here, the Irwin brothers, in Franklin. And that is a fairly substantial operation for Nashville. But in terms of major Hollywood studios, there's been talk for 20 years. I remember it was rumored that Spielberg and Tom Hanks and others, they were all, I think they own property over here, but I don't think they want to work here. I think they hide out here and they hunker down and escape probably. But I think there's a lot of that going on. In terms of actual production, I'll tell you, we own several acres, and we've talked about, well, we could put a studio here, but then it rains so much that we've been talking about the logistics of, well, wouldn't it be simpler if we were in not such a rainy climate or not such a wet climate? And so I've wondered if just the climate itself is affected.
And you can't really go wrong being down in the great state of Texas. I mean, when I lived there, it was a fantastic place, and I'm sure it's still fantastic.
Yeah, Fort Worth is a great city. Texas in general, it's a great climate to live in. It's a great climate to produce in. People are generally very open to production. Whereas, in Texas, people, you go to knock on somebody's door in Texas, say, hey, can we use your facility, your building, your church, your house, your restaurant for a movie? And you're just doing location scouting. Most people in Texas are like, come on in, y'all. They're like, this will be awesome. If you were in California asking the same question, they're like, be gone. No interest. They don't care whatsoever. Or they'll charge you $10,000 to be there for a day.
Right. And we talked a little bit about Georgia because the Kendrick brothers, but I know like The Walking Dead they were all in Georgia, and there's a bunch of other shows that are. So I mean, there's getting little pockets here and there. It's not just stuck in Hollywood anymore or New York. I unfortunately, you can watch a show that's based out of New York City, and it's New York City. I mean, you got the gloomy, doomy concrete jungle look, and then California, the sunny, the palm trees, and all that stuff. So I appreciate the look. Hey, let's go to Georgia. Let's go to Texas. You get a totally different look. But Texas, I've seen stuff coming out of Texas, and you wouldn't know it was Texas because you expect everything out of Texas to be cowboy. Right. And, Taylor Sheridan, everything he does, everything he touches is cowboy. So there's not much you can do other than that. But I think I think you got a pretty good thing going on down there in Fort Worth. I mean, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's easier to produce outside of LA now. The problem with that is unless the state itself has protections for union players and things like that, you're really in the Wild West, right? I mean,
Right.
literally you're there, but you're also having to just probably make sure that you can be protected under your contract and things like that. Even Taylor is notorious for bringing on loads of background people and barely paying those folks and barely feeding them and watering them and what they and how folks get treated like that is illegal in California because there's protections built into the state legal system. But Texas is a right to work state, so you just you got a right to lay here on the ground in the fire ants if you want to. Right. And that's what happens to a lot of those folks in background, especially. But and so it's kind of a trade-off. It's like, well, I don't want to be a part of the union because of where the union puts the money, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, but the union also might be your only line of defense in some cases against producers who will take advantage of you. And so,
correct.
So there's some benefits to being in those right to work state environments, especially for a guy like me. I produce independently, so I get it. I like it. I try to have a very do unto others philosophy about how we contract with people, and we try to be as fair as humanly possible when we contract with people. But I know people who aren't, and they take full advantage of. It happens in Atlanta. It happens in Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Austin, anywhere where movies are being made. But
I can totally understand that. I mean, Florida's a right to work state, or as I say, it's the right to stay on an unemployment line. So I get it. One more time, just go over your movie real fast. Give it a quick promotion, so we got to wrap this up. I guess you got to get back to your kids, and I got to get back to my wife. How's that sound?
Sounds great, man. This has been awesome, Zach. I'm grateful for the time. But the movie is a feature film called Aria, Appleton Shines. Uh-huh. It is a middle grade satire. It's campy and funny and hilarious. Very musical movie, available at Prime Video currently for TVOD and rental, and it's shortly going to be out on several other TVOD sources. And then later this year, it'll be out in several other places as we're about to ink a deal with our distributor. And so it'll start popping up in several other places for advertising on demand and streamers. And there's a couple of big name streamers. I can't mention their names, but you know who they are, who are vying for potential exclusivity.
Sure.
To have that product for a while. So it's gonna show up. It'll be out there, and people can also get more info about it at ariaappleton.com. And there's a link tree on there that takes you out to all our social media and to the soundtrack, which is out on CD Baby, and so it's available on several platforms if you even just want to listen to the music.
Well, no, that's excellent. Yeah, you mentioned that because my wife is a school teacher, and I'm going to show it to her and get her kids excited about it. So you get some fans down here in Florida.
Awesome.
And I was going to kind of chuckle. Oh, I was chuckling because your wife likes middle school. My wife runs a school, actually, at our church school, and she's originally a high school teacher, 20 years. And she does not like teaching middle school because of the drama and the nastiness and the. She says that's the age where you want to lock them all up on an island and let them figure it out for themselves.
Right? Yeah, it's Lord of the Flies, man.
Lord of the Flies. Exactly. I was gonna say 100% Lord of the Flies. Let the best man win. Nathan, I really appreciate chatting with you. I think this is fantastic. We could probably go on for hours. But you're very interesting, and I want everybody to go check out all your info. Let's get a lot of fans. Let's get your show out there and get you famous.
Hey man, thank you. Let's get Jesus famous, and even more so.
Yes,
let's make that happen too.
Yes,
he must become greater. I must become less. That would be, but I appreciate you. But if you do want to learn about me, you can just go to my name, nathandmyers.com. And I have my domain has more info out there than I wish there was. So.
in this world of information is everywhere.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Nathan. It has been a blessing to have you on the show. Again, I'm Zach with EA Truth Radio, brought to you by EternalAffairsMedia.com. Thank you for joining the show today. Our guest today was Nathan D. Myers, or you can find him at NathanDMyers.com. And please subscribe, like, share. And if you feel led to support our independent media ministry, you can pitch in at donate.eamedia.online. Visit us and read all about and all of our content at EternalAffairsMedia.com. Nathan, once again, thank you very much. And we look forward to chatting with you when you get your next feature coming out.
Thanks, Zach. Yeah, we'd love to come back on and tell you what we got going on.
100. I'll get you. All right, buddy. You have a great one.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Another app for inventory, one for CRM. Oh, don't forget accounting. Wait, which login was that?
Or you could use Odoo, one fully integrated system that does it all without the hassle. Ditch the app overload. Get everything your business needs on one platform. Try Odoo free today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.